There's no doubt over the next few months we're going to see an increase in redundancies and corporate restructures, and I'm getting a lot of telephone calls from senior executives who did not expect this to happen. We're also seeing this happen right across all industries, so in my opinion there is no industry that is immune from these scenarios, and even industries which are in theory booming and doing extremely well, there is still a recalibration happening across a wide range of organisations. Organisations are trimming the fat. You're already starting to see artificial intelligence coming into play and having a big impact on workflows. And every organisation I know is doing some form of light restructuring, which is going to be really terrible because the economy is really on very low gear. It is not performing extremely well. There's a very low business confidence, there's very low consumer confidence, and all of that has a flow-on effect to the job seeker market. So in my opinion, we're going to see quite the wave of people being made redundant. Now, if you are, unfortunately on that receiving end, first and foremost, sometimes you get the opportunity to move within the organisation into another role. Often organisations will try and retain talent to the business, but it will be a compromise. It might mean you've got to move into a lesser position, maybe even a lesser salary package to retain employment and retain that income. In my opinion, when the markets are really not performing well, you are wise to accept a compromise versus a redundancy package. So be really careful that you're not shooting yourself in the foot and compromising your job search, because there's going to be a lot of people all looking for employment at the same time. If you are in these scenarios, you obviously want to try and negotiate the very best possible exit that you can from your employer. They might offer you outplacement services, for example. They might offer you a bit of gardening leave or a window where you can still retain the employment while you're looking for your next role. We do see that happen a lot with more senior executives. But ultimately, you want to really try and give yourself as much of a runway as possible, because we're very close to the Christmas New Year break. And unfortunately, in the old days, they used to make people redundant fairly early, but now they make people redundant right up to Christmas Eve. There's no morality, there's no concerns about the timing of these things. So, you really have to be aware that, redundancies can happen at the most inopportune times. If you are made redundant, my strong advice would be to get in contact with a really good career mentor, career advisor. Drop into my diary, for example, have a chat with me about, maybe some of the services that we can offer you. But it's really important, I think, that you tap into that gig economy really quickly. You need to have income coming in while you're doing a senior job search. And the more senior you are, the longer that search may potentially take. We know senior executives in our networks are taking 6 to 8 months, and that's a good scenario, sometimes out to 12 months to find the right role. So when that's happening, it's imperative that you keep your household in check and, tap into the gig economy. And I would have no qualms about doing very basic kind of work. Everyone has to assess where their skills lie and what they can and can't do. But ultimately, if you've got a couple of sources of additional income, that would be perfect. If you've got board seats, if you do training, facilitation, mentoring, coaching, if you've got e-commerce businesses on the side, if you've got a real little business on the side, all of that will help you if you're being made redundant. If you're in that scenario where you just don't have a lot of income and you don't have a lot of buffer and it's a difficult employment market, then you've got the perfect storm happening. And so it's absolutely crucial that you, eat the humble pie and tap into the gig economy. And if that means driving an Uber, if that means applying for welfare, if that means, sort of getting your hustle on, going out to friends, family, colleagues to try and get re-employed, you've got to, literally execute every single tactic that you can to get yourself back on track. I do think there will be opportunities, but you're going to have to be really sort of smart. And if you think you're going to be on a redundancy list between now and Christmas, you need to be activating now. talking to the right headhunters and really operating as quickly as you can to secure meaningful interviews so that that employment contract can be replaced as quickly as possible. But it's certainly going to be a very challenging few months ahead. I know there are going to be people caught off guard. I'm already having some quite distressing conversations with people who have been released, and this is not the time to take the break and just sort of hope for the best. I think you have to be really cognizant that we are in difficult times, and so you've got to work really hard, get the hustle on to secure that next employment opportunity.